I thought becoming an author meant writing a great book. Instead, it feels like I need to become a content creator first. Hi, I'm Nathan James. I'm in the midst of writing, or I guess editing and revising my first debut fantasy novel. For as long as I can remember, I've been in love with storytelling and stories in general, whether that be through books, movies, music, you name it. I always wanted to become an author, but I had no idea how the process worked when I was younger. It felt very elusive and shrouded in mystery about how you became a published, successful author. So until very recently, I just kind of put it on the back burner and didn't even consider it. But then I did, and I found out some pretty interesting things I wasn't aware of. So today in this video, we're going to be talking about the idea of when did the job description for author become content creator. So again, like I mentioned previously, I've always been in love with storytelling. I used to write stories and short stories of like adventure, fantasy, and all that stuff when I was in elementary school. Going from elementary school to high school, I fell in love with music and started writing a bunch of songs. And I always had kind of the dream of like, I would love to become an author. I love the actual idea of creating a world and characters that people can get lost in and relate to like I do with other people's works. But I had no idea how to go about that, so I kind of just didn't really consider it. Until the last couple of years, the desire to write a book and the need to get this fantasy world that I had been brewing in my head out onto paper became too much to bear. So I did the thing. I sat down, I started writing hundreds of hours, research, doubts, struggles, and I did it. I got to the very end, only to find out I need to become a content creator too. And I should have maybe been focusing on that a little sooner in the process. You see, when I started writing the book, I thought the process went, write an amazing book, find an agent, get published, and then build a readership through the book itself. But I found out through everything I've been seeing online from other authors trying to get agents and get published, and literary agents online, and a lot of them are saying that you need an audience first. Granted, not all of them, and I'm going to be a little more nuanced when I get further into the video. So the first reason I think that it's become incredibly important to build an audience when you're trying to write a book, especially when it comes to self-publishing, but I'm also going to touch on trad publishing as well. So starting with trad publishers, they invest a lot of money into a debut novel and a debut author, and they're essentially taking a gamble on somebody who hasn't proven themselves to be able to sell a lot of books. Granted, it is a calculated risk, but nevertheless, it's still a risk. What they invest in a debut novel and a debut author, they might lose quite a bit of money. Granted, and this is why they do it, there's also the potential for a massive upside. They might make a lot of money on it. So I think for authors, the importance of having an audience is that it mitigates the risk for the trad publisher when they're looking at you. So if they can see you've already built a large following and hype around the book that you're creating, they can see that there's already people who are invested and interested in the book you're writing and in you as an author. And that's not to say if you're trying to get trad published that having an audience already built is a prerequisite, because it's not. It's not everything. Publishers still take on debut authors with little to no following at all, and some don't even start their social media journey until after they've already got a contract in place with a publisher. But if you are pitching an agent or you're on submission, it can definitely make your proposal more attractive if you've already got a loyal following. So now from the self-publishing side of things, no publisher means no built-in marketing team. And this is what I've kind of encountered and why I've decided to start social media as well, is because I want to cover both sides of the coin. And that's why I've decided to start trying to build an audience, because I do intend to go the trad publishing route initially, and having an audience makes my proposal a little more attractive. Granted, obviously the book idea needs to be good. You can't get around that just because you have an audience. But again, the big thing why I want to cover both sides of the coin is if I do end up self-publishing, even a great book won't sell if nobody knows it exists or nobody knows who you are. So I think the biggest challenge for new authors nowadays, especially in the last couple of years that I've been kind of delving into the industry and the platform and that kind of thing and trying to consider getting traditionally published, visibility has become the biggest challenge. So to kind of circle back to what I was saying, whether you go trad publishing or self-publishing, the conclusion seems strikingly similar. People need to know who I am before they can know I've written a book or that my book is published or whatever it may be. They need to know who I am before they know that I have a story to tell. So with that being said, there are some struggles that I've had had in this short journey of trying to build an audience and become a content creator is that ultimately at the core, I want to become an author. I want to tell stories. I want people to read my stories and enjoy my stories and get lost in the worlds that I've created, as is the desire of every other author. But with having to put out content to get myself out there, to promote my book, to let people know that I've written a book, that I'm an author, an aspiring author, all that content takes time to create. And the struggle I have is that creating this content takes time away from writing or editing or coming up with new ideas or whatever it may be. It can feel like it takes time away from what I really want to do and why I started this whole thing in the first place. So right now, as I sit here, and it took me time to set up all this equipment and to film this video as I'm filming it right now, it takes time. And that time is something that I feel like I could be drafting my book and working on my draft to get to the next draft, to get it to beta readers, to an editor, etc., to get this book closer to the finish line of hopefully getting published. So it can kind of be a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, I want people to know who I am so that they can know about my book. But on the other hand, if they know who I am and they know about my book, I need a finished book, to be able to give to them to read. So it becomes a war between the two things, content creation and writing, at least internally anyway. So while kind of considering this whole content creation thing and having to create content to get my name out there, to get my book out there, etc., I kind of started to think about it a different way. So instead of thinking about it of, I have to become a YouTuber, or I have to become an influencer, I have to become a content creator, I'm starting to think of it as I get to share the journey. And hopefully there'll be people who want to come along for the ride and see how everything turns out. So ultimately, this channel and my content in general is going to be complementary to my journey as an author, obviously, aspiring author. So a lot of these videos might include writing updates, lessons I've learned, some of my favorite books, the struggles, the wins, kind of sharing it all with you guys, which can kind of be a bit of a scary thing, because ultimately you guys can maybe watch me fail. But one thing I've learned is that failure is the result of trying, and it's better to fail trying than to never try at all. And honestly, from everything I've seen of people who have achieved some level of success, is that their path to success involved a lot of failure, both seen and unseen. And ultimately, creating these videos and creating the content is just another mode of storytelling. If anything, I'm also getting some more practice telling stories. So what can you expect from this channel going forward? Well, I listed some of them: writing updates, progress, wins, losses, etc., all that stuff. But also eventually, and what I'm really excited for, is like sharing the cover, sharing details about the book, and getting people excited to explore the world that I've created. The final takeaway from everything I've learned and, of this question, when did the job description of being an author become content creation? I've discovered that I don't just need readers. I want people who are going to be in my corner, both personally as an author, and people who are going to buy my book, enjoy my book, and enjoy the looks I get into the creation of the book and my life itself. So this is kind of the first step in creating that community. If that's up your alley and it sounds like this is something that interests you, I encourage you to follow along, subscribe, like this video, and leave me a comment of what you might like to see on the channel. If you stuck around this far and you plan on sticking around for the journey, thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.